Hey, it's Michael, and this is the Kintsugi Podcast. I'll be back in a minute with today's conversation about resilience. But first, if you're interested in creating a better life, having a better career, please visit KintsugiPodcast.com and grab your free workbook on how to have a better life. In it, you'll discover tips and routines so you can find the energy for the things and the people who matter most, so you can create a better tomorrow and create the life and career you desire. Last week, I sat down with a friend to do an intuitive reading on me. Now, I've never done anything like this. And if you flash back to my corporate days, I probably would have thought, or at least certainly before my accident, I probably would have thought the whole intuitive reading thing was too woo-woo. And it was definitely skewed right on the woo-woo meter, but I've grown as we all grow over time, or at least we have an opportunity to grow over time. So I'm into a little woo now, so I gave it a go. The reading took about a half an hour, and some of it didn't make any sense at all. Like I'm supposed to be visited by a foreign man who will be helping me in some form or fashion. How exactly? Well, wasn't necessarily part of the reading. That was still a little fuzzy. So not knowing what to do with that, I'm letting that one noodle. I'm putting it on the back burner, if you will. Now, if this foreign man, if this dude happens to be Sir Richard Branson, well, then sign me up for more intuitive readings. Then that would be pretty cool. Now, other parts of the reading were freaky in a awesome sauce type of way. Like, how did you know that about me way? I was blown away. It was a little eerie, to be honest. But when I boil the whole reading down, the half an hour, there was one central theme. New chapters lead to new identities. She shared with me that I should work on creating some space, decluttering, if you will, to make room for a new chapter. But what was missing was the how. What she went on through the reading to share. Now, this is something that you don't need an intuitive reading. You can just check out some of my social media, my writing, and my book to know that there was a prior to my last bad day, Michael, and a different version today. What she shared through her reading was that there could be possibly a new version, not a 180 like my accident helped me see, but maybe a subtle shift, a new identity, if you will. So I'm working on that. I'm thinking about that. But again, the how is missing. Now, luckily over the years, through my corporate life and as an entrepreneur, I've discovered that the best way to start is to start. We start with commitment and have faith or just believe, which may be a little bit different than faith, that the rest is all figure-outable. And across our listeners of the Kintsugi Podcast and across my Peloton, as I like to say, the network of other difference makers, we've had so many people who have done just that. They've started. Now, this has led some of them to get to the executive suite. Others have gotten married, started a family. Some have become entrepreneurs along the way. Others have run marathons. Some have cycled a century. I last week, and I'll get to this, did 19 hours inside of my bike. Some have just found their calm within all this chaos. And even a few have started to write. They started to write a few chapters, and now they're authors. And one of them is a guy named Bobby Kuntz, who just came out with his new book, The Someday Solution, which is all about starting and taking a day-by-day approach, which is so cool. Now, here's the other thing about starting and new chapters and new identities. Just as we evolve to stay remarkable in today's world, the new chapters can't start if we don't start. And what holds us back from starting a lot of times is FOPO, F-O-P-O, fear of other people's opinions. But we still must start if we're going to create a better tomorrow. Or as I just mentioned, stay relevant in this wild world that we all share. Now, some of you will know through the Kintsugi Podcast, or maybe because we're connected through other social media channels like Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. And if we're not, we can get connected there. Just send me a connection request and I'll be happy to connect with you. But last week, I did something a little bananas, a little crazy. I rode my bike inside on the Peloton app as well as Zwift, a little program for us cyclists. I rode my bike inside for 19 hours. I started at 12:19 on July 11th, the 19th anniversary of my last bad day, and rode through 7:19, or rode to 7:19. In military time or European time, that's 19:19. And I rode my bike for that long for 19 charities. 19 charities, I think, who are doing great work as it relates to COVID-19. So hence the theme of 19. It made sort of perfect math, if you will. And if you donated or shared or just sent some good juju my way, thank you for making it happen. I totally believe that we all played a role. My role was not to come up with the idea, but also to ride the bike. But everyone else played a role in making the event a success. And when I look back at the start of it, 6 weeks ago when I came up with the idea, it was, as I mentioned, a little bananas because the longest ride I had ever done up until that point was 12 hours. And the most successful fundraiser effort I've ever had raised about $6,700. The goal for the Thank You 19 ride, as I called it, was 19 hours on my bike, almost 50% longer, actually over 50% longer than my longest ride. And I wanted to raise $1.9 million, $100,000 for each of the 19 charities, which is exponentially more than the $6,700 that I've raised in the past. And it would have been so easy to let the start stop me. And this can certainly happen, as I mentioned, when we have FOPO, fear of other people's opinions, but also when our challenges seem too large or unimaginable. It's so easy to give up or believe we don't have enough time to pull it off, which one would argue I didn't, or enough resources, well, could argue that as well, or enough strength to keep pedaling in my case. And this can be the case no matter what you try to do. Run a marathon, start a family, get married, go after that big job, start your company if you're an entrepreneur, do a launch if you're already become an entrepreneur, or maybe write that book, or perhaps even fighting a pandemic, which is enormous and unimaginable. And sometimes we don't know where to start, and we're all a little confused, especially here in the States. But whatever it might be that we're going after, that big goal, the best way to start is to start. To start with one small step, one paragraph, one connection, one person, and maybe as it was last week for me, one pedal stroke, with the commitment and the belief to finish what we've started and to know this, that everything is figure outable. Last week, the Thank You 19 ride was a lot of things. One was a big celebration of 19 years since my last bad day. So it was a celebration of life and everything that life has in it. I just love life. And every day is a gift, as cliche as that sounds. Another part of it was an awesome sauce ripple of gratitude and some optimism for those supporting others today through COVID-19. But this third piece, maybe the biggest one of all. It was a demonstration that we can accomplish big things when we all pull together and commit to starting and commit to being accountable to each other and doing our role. Believing that we may not necessarily know the way today, but everything else is figure outable. And we can build upon our efforts. What we do today can get a little bit better tomorrow, so forth and so on. Now, last week I made it all 19 hours. It was really cool at the end. My oldest daughter, did a little riding with me. My wife rode the last 15 minutes with me. My youngest daughter was cranking out the playlist to keep me entertained. It was a good team effort, the Christensen O'Brien family effort. But I fell way short of $1.9 million. But here's the thing, we raised more money through the event than if we never started. We raised probably with online and offline and corporate contributions about $30,000. So I blew away my past goal of $6,700, or past success, if you will. And here's the really cool thing, is that next year there's another opportunity. I'm not sure if I'm going to ride 20 hours to celebrate 20 years since my last bad day, but we get to build upon what we did this year. Because sometimes success requires more than one pedal stroke, that you don't necessarily eat the whole apple with one bite. So if you have your own version of a 19-hour ride, the best way to start is to start. The rest we can figure out. And that's what it means to be in a strong Peloton and to have a little bit of that Kintsugi spirit. Because despite our wrinkles and blemishes and scars and all that jazz, you got this. You are resilient. And I can say that because we got you. Being part of one Peloton. If you're a listener to the Kintsugi Podcast, I am right behind you, right alongside of you. If you want to accomplish something big, just let me know how. Doing big things is a way to create the type of change we want to see in the world. So the best way to get going on that is to start. The best way to start is to start. So I hope you start and let me know how I can be of support. And as always, I just want to thank you for listening to the Kintsugi Podcast, Conversations about Resilience. You may have seen the new Pause, Breathe, and Reflect shirt in some of the videos. If you want one of those shirts, just go to kintsugipodcast.com and drop me a note, or you can ask a question there as well. And I will send you the link. The demand has blown me away. And now I'm working on creating a proper store on my main website, which is michaelobrienshift.com. In the meantime, I have a special link. So again, if you've seen one of the Pause, Breathe, and Reflect shirts, and it has a special message inside, but you can only read the message if you get one of the shirts, just go to kintsugipodcast.com and leave your email there, and I will send you the link so you can grab one of our new Pause, Breathe, and Reflect shirts. And while you're there, you can also check out the Paceline Leadership Academy. It's one of a kind. If you're a corporate warrior, if you're an aspiring leader or a leader in the middle and want to create a better career for yourself, but also you want to be wealthy starting from the inside out, then check it out. There's nothing like it. Over the last 2 years, so many folks have found their calm within the chaos. They found more career growth. And here's the really cool thing. Their partners have often said that they're better at home because of the coaching that we've done together. But the only way to become part of the Leadership Academy is to start. Again, going back to our theme this week, the best way to start is to start. So again, thank you for listening. I hope you'll share this with your Peloton and you'll subscribe and leave a review. And until next week, in our next conversation about resilience on the Kintsugi Podcast, I hope you have fun storming the castle. We'll talk to you then.